My wife and I provide professional development, business consulting, and business coaching, and we're always telling people to dream big. And we always talk with people about their music is the only music they can play. They're the only one who can play it. But for those that say that they want to get to the NFL, and for some reason they don't quite make it to the NFL, what advice would you share with them?
So you have a goal and they want to get somewhere. The question is, I think you have to ask yourself what you're willing to give up to get there. Anything that is worth it is not always going to be easy. And so I would tell them, to be persistent. It's going to take sacrifice. It's going to take hard work. There's going to be days where everybody's going to go do something and you want to be a part of that. It's not like you can't have a social life, but once again, you have a goal, and because you have a goal, you're willing to give up something to reach that goal. And so, yes, you just have to ask that fundamental question, what are you willing to give up to reach your goal? 2, you have to be faithful in the small. And I think there was a mentor of mine named John Bryson. He always would say, people always want to do the 8, 9, and 10 things in life, but they never want to focus on the 1, 2s, and 3s.
Absolutely.
And so basically what we're saying is be faithful in the small. Do the small things right. And when you do the small things right, those big opportunities will come. And so what are the small things? Going to school on time, being respectful, making good grades, practicing hard and practice, being a team player, being humble. Those are all small but important characteristics. And those big moments, it takes all those characteristics to come together to make something special happen. And so people don't, that's the misconception. You know, Allen Iverson, who I love as a player, he once said, practice, you know, and honestly what he was coming from on that, but practice is so important. It's the small things, and not just practice on the field, but practice off the field. Going to class on time. Those are important things to focus on and really lead up to success.
Wow. You mentioned the word special, and you've mentioned words like amazing and incredible. Ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to remind you that our special, speaking of special, our special guest, Mr. Trevor Jenkins. And Trevor is a campus minister at Bellevue in Memphis, Tennessee, right in the outskirts of Memphis, Tennessee. Would you be willing to share how they can reach you at the church and or just some way by email possibly?
Yes. Our campus is Bellevue Fraser is located in Fraser off Watkins Boulevard. We're located at 3759 Watkins Street. What's
your phone number there?
Our phone number, I don't know the phone number off the top of my head.
Well, I'll give them mine so we can get in contact with you.
I always give people my cell phone. I don't know if I'm going to do it right now.
Okay.
But in the community, I always give people my cell phone. But my email address is tjenkins@bellevue.org.
Okay.
tjenkins@bellevue.org.
Super. That's tjenkins@bellevue.org. And I'm Ricky Tucker, your host. 901-870-7492, and I can also be reached by email, rixinternational@msn.com. We're going to get right back to more questions. Basically, tell me some of the skills that you've had to develop as an athlete, and then some of those skills that were able to be transferable.
Well, high school was an important time for me because not only I did sports, but I did theater as well. And so I think they all combine to each other. And so being in plays, being in front of people, being on a stage, it just taught me how to be vocal and how to be comfortable in talking in front of people. And so when I got comfortable that as I became a starter and as a leader of the team, I just got comfortable being vocal and just leading. And when there was times that the team there was a level of low morale, speaking up and encouraging the team to get better. And there were other players who did that too. I was not just the only person who did that. But those skill sets were very important. They have carried from years and seasons of my life. And so even now as a preacher, just going back to theater, going back to the football field, speaking up, and I get to encourage people, specifically in low moments of their life, that things will get better. And so all those things play a factor with each other.
What did you like most about being on a team or playing football?
The thing I liked most about being on the team just the season, the duration of a season. You might not necessarily start off well, but you can finish well. And so things are so unpredictable, and so it requires trust, you know. And then I think of being on a team, especially when things go wrong, you really find out what people are made of. You know, you can easily get that individual perspective, or I'm just going to make All-Star this year, or I'm going to get my stats because we're losing. But the team is a team sport, and so when or you lose together, it's all a team. And so I think I've always kept that team mentality, even though I'm not playing sports anymore. At Bellevue Fraser, even with the staff, I know I'm the pastor, but still there's a team.
Absolutely.
And so Paul says that in 1 Corinthians. He's like, there's many members of the body and they're all important. And the people we don't think important are even more indispensable, that we need them.
Yeah.
And so that's my mentality. Football instilled that in me, that one person can't do it alone.
Yeah, and that's a really good, strong message to share with people, young people, that there's so much value in collaborating and working together. It's interesting that you mentioned that word trust. My wife has about 15 to 20 programs that she's actually developed for professional development, and we have been talking over the past week about the value of trust in the workplace. So you are saying you can take that same trust that you needed and that you used on the team, and you take it to the workplace, if you will, and then to your congregation.
Exactly.
Wow.
Trust is so important, especially in football. The higher you get, everybody's big, strong, and fast. And so if the person next to you doesn't do their job, you will get hurt.
Wow.
And so you have to trust your teammates to be where they're supposed to be exactly, because there's so many fast-moving parts.
Well, now we talked about A, B, C, and that career transition piece. So since I talked with you about the game of football, if you will, if we were to transfer that and talk about what is it that you really get excited about in your current role as minister at Bellevue Fraser campus, what would you say that is?
I get excited about sharing the gospel to my congregation and leading them, which transfers from the football field now to the community. Get up every day, there's a goal that I'm trying to reach, and then just getting to know people and wanting to know people that I care for them deeply. That gets me up in the morning. That's one of my passions. Seeing people develop as leaders, that's one of my passions as well. And so, once again, you can be an all-star, but if another person on your team in football is not doing well, you're just as good as your team. And so, I want people around me to succeed as well. And so, I think it's very transferable.
Absolutely. Well, the one thing that this is going to be kind of a risky question. Tell us about the one thing that you really didn't care as much about as it related to playing professional sports. What was there something that you just really didn't care much about that maybe young people need to know?
Yes, it is very business oriented, and a lot of times you feel like you're getting used, but you have to look at the benefit that I was fortunate to get a scholarship that set me on a different trajectory for the rest of my life. I'm very fortunate I have no student loans.
Amen.
And so that puts me on another different playing field from people who were my peers coming out of college and had $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 in student loans. And so even though in those moments you felt used, in the long run, you're better off. And so you end up feeling thankful as well. But navigating through those moments, doing the right thing, there are boosters, there are people offering you money, and there's that quick gratification and temptation, but you should stay away from those things, and in the long run, things will be for you.
You know, there are athletes that really sometimes starts off at, as you said earlier, at the top. And it only takes a split second with someone who's big, fast, and strong, as you said, and you can get hurt. In situations like that, What kind of advice, or how would you advise young people to really insulate themselves and prepare for the what ifs? Because the what ifs are always possible.
Very possible, and they happen every day.
Yeah.
You know, so many players, so many talented players who didn't get an opportunity or got hurt when they got their opportunity. And so the best transition, once again, is following back to the 1, 2s, and 3s. And so, especially those who are in college, you have a scholarship. Finish well. And I think that's important. Finish your education, because that's the very thing you're going to have to fall back on. And even though you may not necessarily get a job in your specific field, most jobs want to see a college degree. And so something about a college degree that communicates endurance, this person has discipline, this person can finish well. And so I just encourage those players, play as long as possible, but life happens. And when life happens, you want to be prepared. And honestly, your education is an insurance policy.
Wow. Well, what you've said, and I'd really like to restate that. You've talked over and over again, and I haven't used the phrase that a dear friend of mine has always used, and that is student athletes. You didn't use that phrase, but you used it every time you talked about students. You talked about how important it is for them to go to class, finish the class, do well in class. So basically the pure message that you're getting to the young people, even as you look in your rearview mirror, the most important thing is for you to get your education.
Exactly.
And in getting your education, tell me about kind of the difference between what happens as an athlete when you get your education versus playing and not getting that education, but yet not being selected to go any further.
Yeah, for the players who continue to play without getting their education, they typically end up finding they need to get their education, and so majority of them go back to school.
Wow. Good.
And so why do something tomorrow which you can do today? Yeah. And so if you have the opportunity to get your education today, I encourage you to stick in it, finish well, and get your education today. There's just different benefits, you know, as far as finishing well, because the reality is that the NCAA had a commercial when I was in college, and it said that we're all going professional in something. And so basically they were saying that even if we don't go professional in sports, that we're all going professional in some sort of career. And so when I heard that, that just left a mark in my mind.
Wow.
That I have the ability and talent to make it professional, but even if when I got cut, something just told me that I still had that same talent in me, and I just needed to transfer it to something else.
Wow. Thus, the C for career transition.
Exactly.
So, ladies and gentlemen, this is Mr. Travis Jenkins, aka Pastor Travis Jenkins, and I want to tell you this has really been a thrill, and I'm looking forward to talking with you some more. I know that we're going to talk off camera. I think you, me, the rest of Coach Rick's winners around the country, and myself, Coach Rick's, we got a lot of work to do. There are a lot of people out there to help. So I want to thank you very much for being a guest. And ladies and gentlemen, this has been Trevor Jenkins with the Bellevue Baptist Fraser campus. He's the minister there, and he is excited about people coming out and fellowshipping with him, and we're going to be out looking for folks. So feel free to give us a call at 901-870-7492. I'm your host, Ricky Tucker, Coach Rick's, and we're focusing on the ABCs. I want you to know that it has been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure talking with you once again, Trevor.
It's been a pleasure talking to you.
And remember, ladies and gentlemen, to always be your best.